Welcome, everyone. We're excited you're here with us for this quick hour. This is part 2 of our facilitation tips. And we're always learning new things. So uh yes, I think we're hopefully gonna have some nice interactive sessions today. We might even figure out how to do our streaming. We'll find out in a moment. Okay. So let me pull up the slides for part 2. Welcome for those of you who might be new. I'm Dr. Deetra Hawkins, and I'll be your facilitator for today. I have my team with us as well. They'll have a chance to say hello. They're probably waving there. We are following up from our part 1 in August, where we did our session on facilitation tips. And today we are following up with part 2. So whether you are live with us or virtual later and watching this as a recording, we want to welcome you. Thank you for making time to be here and participating and wanting to make an impact in your little world and our world and in all of our circles of influence. So we know that you are disruptors, we know that you're educators, we know that you are people who care, and first just want to thank you for being here, for signing up and for showing up. Again, I'm Dr. Deetra Hawkins. I am a licensed clinical psychologist. I'm a mom, I'm a Black Catholic. And today, again, I'll be your facilitator. I use the pronouns she and her. One of the things that we find is really helpful in working with groups and organizations is talking about alignment with policy and action. So our framework helps to equip people with the skills and the confidence to help create that alignment with really good policy that's informed by the people who are actually being impacted by that policy. And one of the things that's helpful for that is having some facilitation skills. So we have a bunch of different things we're still following up on in terms of some objectives for today. I just want to highlight, most importantly, as an opportunity to practice. So if you don't know already, we have been launching a new version of our facilitator workshop, which is 6 weeks long, 75 minutes, a week of live time to really practice. And we're finding it to be really cool because we're talking about how to bring this work into our day-to-day. So we will do a bit of that today. Want Elizabeth and Tony to say hello. And wanted to invite Tony to help us do a little centering.
This is a wonderful book I discovered this year, and it's by John Blake, and it's called More Than I Can Imagine. And one of the things he talks about is facts don't change people, the stories do. John is an award-winning CNN journalist for the last 20 years. This story is his quest to reconcile his white mother and the family he never knew, and how faith brought them together. His mother was white and his father was Black, and he grew up as a Black man, knowing he was biracial and puzzled by his own identity. He didn't have any relationship with his mother, and he grew up not knowing her family, and that caused him a lot of pain, and he had a lot of questions. The book bears witness to systemic racism. The other thing that's very compelling for me is a book about his mother's persistent mental illness, and how, as he found himself, he discovered his mom, and she went from institutionalized to living independently in their relationship. he had to also answer the question about where his mother was, but more importantly, where did he belong? And he had to learn the power of forgiveness and how healing starts with forgiveness. I would commend this book to you. I was telling Elizabeth a little while ago, it's one to curl up with, and it keeps you engaged. I think I read it in one sitting. It's just a wonderful book, and I would certainly encourage you to read this.
Thank you, Tony. I think as we are always in our work, we're talking about the intersection of various marginalized groups. So from mental health to substance use to abilities and access, as well as just the experience of race and racism. So it's important to us that we sort of are lifting up stories that talk about this intersectionality, and offer ideas and suggestions and pathways forward. So again, this quote, facts don't change people, stories do. As a facilitator, that's one of the things that we get to do is help tell stories and help people share their stories in a space in which they can be brave. As always, we like to start with polls to kind of get an idea of who we have here with us in the room.
All right, teacher, let me see if I can launch this poll for us here. Did that launch successfully? Can you all see it?
No.
Yes, I have one thumbs up.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so short anonymous poll. First question, have you attended any of our workshops? Second question, have you downloaded our small group guide? Third is, how confident do you feel as a facilitator? Fourth question is, are you celebrating a birthday this month? We have a special birthday that we'll announce later. Fifth question is, I see myself as, and I probably didn't make that multiple choice, and it probably should be, but go with your best guess. All right, looks like just a few more, and then I will close the poll and share the results. All right, I'm going to end and share. Okay, can you all see the results? Did the results pop up on your screen? Yes, okay, great. Getting this poll thing down. Okay, yay! So a lot of folks here have attended our workshops. A few have not. Don't worry, we have opportunities coming up for you. Have you downloaded the small group guide? We've got a mix. Okay, a couple folks asking what guide, so we will direct you to our website. The guide is right on the homepage. You can't miss it. We'll drop that in the chat for you. How confident do you feel as a facilitator? Looks like we're practicing, we're working on it. So this is a great time to get some more tips and do even a little bit of practicing today. Okay, it looks like Dr. Dietrich, you are the only September birthday in the group. So we will sing to you later. And I'm sure everybody would have ticked most of these boxes, but we have activists and leaders, learners, and advocates here. So what a great group. Thanks, everybody.
Love it. I know there's got to be some others out there celebrating this month, but that is all cool. We're great. And welcome everyone. Sometimes it's helpful to just know who's in the room, and being an activist, an ally, an advocate, family members. We want to really talk about creating space for all of us. All right, so let me share my screen again. And we are going to get ready for a breakout room, right? Because it's what we like to do. We know that one of the things that is part of being a facilitator is practice. So I want to give you all a chance to practice sharing what is your story that's brought you here today. This is the practice in doing this is to share not everything, because we want you to try and tell your story in about a minute and a half. So sort of time yourself for that. Tony's going to let us know how many people we have in the rooms. But it's, if you think about what's brought you here, one of the things that resonates and stays with me on why I'm here, growing up in Memphis, Tennessee, where Dr. King was assassinated, and now living in Atlanta, has shaped me, right? Has had an influence on the way I see the world and what I feel called to do, as I understand that my ancestors worked really hard for me to be here and also dreamed. So part of me being here is really honoring that legacy of people who were showing up and didn't give up, and still found a way to pass on lots of love and lots of concern and great care. So I invite you into a room to talk about what has brought you here today, a little piece of your story. Tony, how many do we have in a room? We have 3 people in a room, so we will be back in 7 minutes. Try to time yourself, and then we'll be back.
Slides up. You want me to keep sharing the slides? Or do you want to share your slides?
Oh, well, let's see. I'll let you continue sharing for right now. And actually, this was the slide you were supposed to speak on. So it sounds like it's been going just as it needed to. So this next slide, I like to highlight over and over again is, to me, the magic of what we get to do as facilitators. Which is understanding that we need to create, use our technology, use the breakout rooms. When I'm in person, I invite people to do what is called a dyad, which is to just go talk to someone else. And I really like this image, that when we're thinking about dialogue versus debate, we're not trying to say that one is better than the other. It's just how you use it, right? So in debate, winning is the goal, and it's really about kind of making the distinction between your perspective and my perspective. But when we're trying to get to a shared goal, a shared understanding, when we're trying to serve, we really need the skills of dialogue. And that in between, right? In between, when we're trying to work on understanding and sharing, is discussion. And so we just want to be aware of that. But again, an idea to recommend to you is to always use some way in which people get to talk with each other and share. Now, the piece that we add to that is that we try to invite stories, and that we try to encourage you to use an appreciative question. So not sending people into a room to talk about what the problem is first, but sending them into a room to talk about, what is their experience? What are they noticing? So much more open question. Go to the next one. So in chat, we're going to try this activity. We're going to see how it goes. I want to invite you to share, what are you afraid to hear, or you have heard, whether that's with family members, at work, when you're out to dinner, that kind of gets in the way of connecting. One of the things that I hear a lot is that we're just not talking to the right people, or there's sometimes this idea of I just wish people would, be rational. But what are some of the things that you hear? Yes, there we go. Can you get over it? Haven't we done this already? It wouldn't be an issue if we stopped talking about it, right? Maybe. Yeah, why? Yeah, I worked hard. Why should I share resources with others? I'm not the one. Yes, it wasn't my family. I'm not the one. Mhm. Oh, right. Putting it, this is your thing. Uh, let's forget about the past. Yeah. Uh, you're just being difficult. You can't get over, it was just a joke, right? Oh yes, it's not race, it's class. Oh, it's not this, it's that. Uh-huh. It can also be things you don't hear. Yes. So love to add, what are some of the things you don't hear? Definitely. Yep. Yes, I've got other things. I can't, I don't have time for this. Anyone else? I mean, what about like, I'm just tired, you know, been fighting and I'm just tired. Yep. I can't make a difference because it's too big. So why even try? So important. Here we go. Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice. I'm going to go through some of the tips and then we're going to try to see how they could be applied to what you shared in chat. So one of the first things I find, right, as a tip is just actually breathing and pausing. And actually, when someone says some of these things, I think inviting them to be like, can we just take a pause? Right? Can we take a breath here? Because that can kind of help things slow up a little bit. Am I still there? Okay. So that is one tip to think about. And so if we look at the list that we just went through, how might just taking that moment, inviting others to take that breath, maybe even not the person who said it, but to someone else, because we just need to kind of give some emphasis to what's going on in that moment. The next tip is to notice and name it. One of the statements you can use there is, I just want to acknowledge the temperature in the room has gone up. That's a way to acknowledge and name it. The temperature's and maybe it's gone up, maybe it's gone out, maybe the wind has gone out, but just be able to notice and name. So as a facilitator, that's one of the things that you could say. Okay, we'll go to the next one. All right, my favorite one. And Tony, this is yours, right? Approach with curiosity. In the way that we as a facilitator can do that, Tony?
We do that by asking a question. We say, do I understand what you're saying? But we separate intent from impact. When you said that, I think that your intention may have been to be funny, but it really didn't land very well and it was very harmful. It just didn't land as you intended. So let's start again.
Mm-hmm. So being able to lean in with that curiosity, can you tell me more? Or when you said this, right, leaning in, those two pieces. So again, as we think about some of the things that we hear often, right, there are other issues. Can you tell me more about that? Right, so we can introduce possibly their room for intersectionality, right? Or when you said this, like there's other things out there. I think your intent might have been to, try and share what's important to you, but it's harmful when we are in this state of playing oppression Olympics, right? That might be a way to kind of go with that. Okay, next set of suggestions. Okay, some of my favorites. Checking in, right? So this is what I heard you say. Did I get that right? Like to be able to repeat back what someone has said. I know this one comes up. I mean, even this person. So are you saying this isn't about race? Did I get that right? It's not. What is this about? What's the story? What's the experience? one of the things as a facilitator, I think that we have an opportunity for is to, one, ask for permission to go a little bit deeper, right? Can we go a little bit deeper here? And be able to say, all right, so if it's not about race, what is it that you would, think can be helpful? Or what is your story that's led you to this space? And what I find is that people sometimes just need to like be heard and hear themselves again so that they have room to hear something new, just to hear something new. And the other piece we don't do enough of here is asking permission to go deeper, because some people may not be ready for that. And so it's helpful to just, before you go right in there, to just ask permission of the group, because they may correct themselves even before, we get there. I love this other, one of the comments in the chat, like, well, we don't use diversity, equity, and inclusion. All right, let's go a little deeper there. What do we use? What is that? How much reading have you done? I would say there's so many pieces we could do related to that. All right, let's go to the next slide. Another great one, right? I mean, just expressing gratitude. Here's a great statement. That was powerful. Thank you for sharing. That's it. Like, as a facilitator, that was powerful. Thank you for sharing. Open it up for the next person. Another suggestion of what you can do is to share reflection in the room, so that you can create room for that pause. Someone's brought up a question. Let's see. Okay. Right. Like, it's not about race, it's about class. So this is okay, here we go. This is kind of thought-provoking. Maybe I wonder where class does fit into this. Like, let's take some time to sort of digest what that might be about if someone else is raising that question, right? To take what someone is sharing and find a way to create room to pause and explore and go a little bit deeper. All right, next one. All right, we had to have one slide just for this one on its own, okay? Acknowledging someone else's vulnerability is really important. So if people are saying they're tired, if people are saying that they just, they don't have hope, right? If people are sharing their truths, whatever it is, just getting into the habit of being able to say, thank you for sharing that story. I know it wasn't easy. And it really can open up room for even more. We hear people who will share stories about things they have never thought about since it happened. And we just want to create that room. And as a facilitator, just learn to be able to kind of reflexively say, thank you for sharing that. I know this isn't easy. And even if there's like silence in the room, sometimes we just want to thank people for being present, because it's not always easy to show up. So that's one of our things that we can be doing. Yeah. So I love this question here. As a facilitator, how do you manage your own vulnerability? I am so happy you asked that question, because this is why we're here, right? This is why I'm creating these spaces on purpose, because we need each other and we need our own space. We have to do things to make sure that we are ready and where we need to be in order to do this kind of work. The other thing, don't go alone. Oh my gosh, please try not to do this work by yourself. So love that question. This is why we support people in their journey to be able to be facilitators, to practice. What we just did is actually a little activity we do in a more advanced facilitator training, where we actually collect all these things and we play a game of like learning how to only respond with like a question and only, do some of the reflective listening, or just do the nod, because as a facilitator, half the time I'm just like, thank you, next person, And that's not always easy. So love this. What we want to do in this next breakout is which of these tips resonated with you the most? And is there one that you want to practice? Okay. We'll be back in 7 minutes. One. Yay, it's still recovery month. We'll celebrate all year.
Did you notice, teacher, that Deacon Gary was here?
Yes. Lisa, where are you joining us from?
From Porterdale, Georgia.
Oh, okay. Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome back, everybody. This is great. So, in our last few minutes here, we want to just kind of hear what's resonating. You can either come off mute or you could put something in chat.
Hi, I'm Natalie.
Hi,
I
Natalie.
think in our group, and Dr. Dietrich, I'm in your home city and I lived in Atlanta and went to school in Atlanta. So we did.
Oh, wow.
So I think what resonated for all three of us was the intent and versus impact, the intent and impact, which I think that has to, you have to bring in a lot of those tips you gave us. so So I think that's what resonated predominantly in our room.
I can't tell you how often and how helpful it is when you're talking with people to say, yes, this is why we're separating intent from impact. Is it's so easy that people get defensive, right, around it. Yep. Oh, yes. Okay. I love this. This is so cool. We love the connections, Atlanta, Memphis, Chicago. Awesome. What else? Terry, I love this piece. Using curiosity, it's like the thing, right? Finding a way to stay in a place of curiosity instead of like judgment. I know what your problem is. What else is resonating? Thank you for that. The pause.
I can't see who's speaking, but I was just going to come off mute. But one of the things that came up in our group is how you transition from a joke that doesn't like. No, I already got my crits on. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. But how do you transition from a joke that doesn't land well? And by acknowledging, I think you intended that as a joke, however that didn't land. And then how do you take care of the rest of the room to move on to the agenda?
So very good. And you can see the practicality, how often that comes up, and still taking care of others in the room, right? So one of the skills of a facilitator is not just, managing sort of this one-on-one, but it's the other things, other people in the room, what isn't being said, again, which is why we try to really encourage people to have co-facilitators so that you can be focused here and then other people can be watching. And it's even more important in a virtual setting so that we can navigate, especially if you've got multiple other ways in which people can communicate. Love that. Silence, being able to sit with silence as a skill as a facilitator is so important. So often I find that there are people who are really gifted as presenters, which is different than facilitation. And sometimes, there are things that are like, I have things to say too, But when we're in this role, then that role of being able to really practice the silence, be able to bring the vulnerability. I love that. Yeah, being able to acknowledge the temperature in the room. Um, and yes, thinking about, paying attention to yourself. I love that, Tony, just saying that, acknowledging to yourself what that is and where we're sitting with things. And then kind of finding ways to manage the silence that shows up. Yeah, so very important. Such good things. So we intended this time just as a way to go over some of the tips. There's always so much more. I hope you keep like showing up to practice what those things are. Oh, love this. Being able to recognize our facial expressions, and working on those things, so helpful. Yeah, and thinking through the lenses of others. Yeah. I think that, Marlise, it's so helpful. These are such good things. And really just having a community, right, that you can explore, talk about these things, kind of come back, thinking about your best experiences with facilitation or seeing a facilitator, I think can be really powerful and is so very helpful. I really appreciate all of that for sure. So I wanted to make sure I sort of close this out, just highlighting again the things I find that are really important as a facilitator. I've said it several times already today, have a team. To me, 3 is ideal. We often try 2, but I think 3 is like, there's something about that. It really makes a difference. If you're in a virtual space, use your breakout rooms. If you are meeting with someone for more than an hour, have at least 2 breakouts. Like just as a tip as you're doing things. So as you notice, we try to use polls, we're using the chat, we're using breakout rooms, different settings. We're going to use all of these different features. Another piece is to be prepared. And preparing might mean that you went to sleep the night before. Preparing might mean that you have taken time to have your own space to have shared your story, like that's hugely part of this. Being prepared, often, as Tony helped us with, is reading other stories so that you can stay inspired. Oh my gosh. I mean, what John Blake has lived through and shares now, and that journey is like so inspiring. So that's part of what I think about being prepared, not just your slides, not the colors, not the, but really like you and grounding and where you are, so you can really show up to be present. And so along with that is, actively practicing self-care. And I would also encourage this idea of community care. So not just for yourself, but for your co-facilitators, for the communities that you're working with. When I'm with people for an extended period of time, I try to make sure that people get food, so all of these things are really important. We wanted to, I'm looking at the time, I want to make sure that we have a way to do this. So we've mentioned our equity facilitator cohort. We just started the first one. We are taking registration for the second, which will be Wednesdays starting November 1st. So if you're thinking about a way, or others that need this to get ready for 2024, have them sign up so that they can get the 15% off. We've also been bringing this in-house now. We've had a couple of requests. So if you are with an organization and you have maybe 20 or so people, we could come and just do this in-house within your own organization. Wanted to remind you of the tips we shared in part 1 for virtual meetings, right? So pieces here, want to encourage everyone, take breaks. Take breaks. Make sure you take breaks. We need time to go to the bathroom. And then last steps here, we just want to encourage you, download our small group guides, sign up for the facilitator. We will have a new newsletter coming out. So if you are not on our list to get our newsletter, please do that. We are also bringing our foundations workshop into organizations. So that's just the 6-part piece. So if you're trying to find a way to help your organization sort of get regrounded, on our website, we have a regular foundations and foundations plus that comes with a visioning session. And lastly, I am happy to customize work with you. So Elizabeth, I think you have our names for our Wheel of Fortune, our
I have the wheel.
our giveaway.
Yes.
Our
Yeah, I have the
wheel.
wheel. I have the wheel. All right, let me share my screen and let's hope for the best here. Okay, so we are doing a
We're
little
gonna give
wheel of
away
fortune.
2 books again.
We have 2 books to give away. So we're gonna roll the dice. I'll put everybody who registered in here. So hopefully the name lands on somebody who is here.
I've been doing this multiple times. Like,
Becky, okay. I don't think Becky made it. We will celebrate in her absence. Lisa, yay!
Wow.
You
yay.
are a winner, and we have you read this yet? So you want to talk about race?
No, I haven't. I'd love to. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Send me your details, please. I will drop this in the mail for you. And we have one more book. Let's roll the wheel. I was gonna say roll the dice, but it's not quite accurate. And we might go with the closest. Okay, one more roll.
yeah.
All right, this is just a good representation of, this is why when you register, you got to sign up, because we're giving
You
away
gotta show
stuff. You got to be here to get it. I think LaDonna is not here, but Marlisa is here with us. Marlisa, I think we're going to have to give it to you as the closest. Alexandria is not here with us. Is that correct? Correct. Marlisa, have you read? Stamped.
I have not read
Yes.
Stamp.
Okay. Coming your way.
Yay!
Yay.
All right. Thank you all for playing and for showing up. Let everybody know next time you got to show up to win.
Thank you, everyone. We'll be hanging out. We can answer questions. John, I think I put in here the book that we referenced earlier. You know, we're here, so we love to answer questions. Thank you for your participation, and we look forward to connecting with you in another few weeks.
Don't you know, talking about